All right, I want to talk about the Yoshimura pedals. I've been on these for about a year and a half under fairly hard use for my style of riding, and I'm sure you'll be able to see what some of that is. Um, Bottom line up front on these is they're expensive, but they are good. So there are some other choices out there that would probably suit your needs at a little cheaper price point, but these are good. So since I purchased these, Yoshimura has upgraded from these to the SS, but as far as everything I can tell, they are almost identical. The only difference being basically there's a extra bearings in this portion of the spindle right here, and then there's a compression spring that keeps constant tension against those, just so it doesn't create any sort of looseness or slop or anything here in the spindle. There's a slight amount of play in this, but this is much tighter than most of the pedals that you're gonna come across. And again, this is after a year and a half. So the overall dimensions are from Yoshimura's website: 110 millimeters in length, which is about 4.3 inches. They measure 107.25 in width, which is about 4.2 inches. And of course, the spindle is a 9/16 spindle. You're going to see that on pretty much any sort of bikes that you would want to apply these to: mountain bikes, BMX bikes, anything like that. And they say that their spindle is a proprietary steel alloy, and it's Cerakoted for strength. As far as weight goes, the website has them listed at 360 grams, which is 12.6 ounces, or about 0.8 of a pound, and that's with pins in. As far as pins go, they send it to you with the pins not installed, and there's 45 pins that you have. It'll take 10 in each plate or each face of the pedal for both pedals, so you got 40 pins that get used up, and you'll have 5 spares. That was something that I noticed after a couple of rides. I looked down and I noticed 1 or 2 of those pins had walked out. So it might be smart to put like some blue Loctite on when you're installing those, and definitely keep an eye on them, and maybe go through with an Allen wrench and tighten those after the first couple rides. And when it does come to the pins, since you're installing them yourself, you get to pick between large or small as far as how big they are. And then also color combinations. They've got different colored bodies and different colored pins. For me, I just wanted something simplistic, something clean. My bike was a raw bike with black components, so I chose this color, and with the black pins just kind of matched. So why did I buy these? Why did I spend so much money on these pedals? So a couple of reasons. My type of riding, I am not used to doing anything with clipped in pedals or feet or anything like that. So I like a flat pedal. I feel like I have the most control with that, and I wanted something that was going to give me good traction and feel like I had a good positive connection to the bike and not be slipping or moving around. Like, feel as locked in as possible but still maintain a flat pedal. So I found these to be pretty good compromise of exactly kind of what I was looking for. So these are some other examples of pedals that we've got laying around, but kind of show kind of some of the differences and what advantages a pedal like this might have, or some of the strengths as well of some of these other ones that you don't necessarily have to jump into this price point to get. So typically when you get a bike, a complete bike or whatever, you're going to have a pedal that's going to be similar to this. Is kind of more of your new style BMX plastic pedal with plastic pins. These are really good because they're cheap. They do the job. You can have a molded body that's very similar in size or comparable to having a good footprint. The plastics need to be a little bit thicker to be able to avoid any sort of flex or anything, but they can be reinforced and are pretty good. These are also really nice for street riding or park riding. The reality of it is you're going to be taking your pedals to your shins every once in a while, and a plastic pedal is definitely a little bit more forgiving when it comes to eating your body up. As well, when it comes to grinds, plastic can slide on all sorts of stuff, so lots of pedal grinds, pedal feebles, things like that. Plastic pedals are pretty cool, but they are pretty much a consumable item. When you're running plastic pedals, you can almost count on needing another set of pedals every few months if you're heavy with pedal grinds. And also just the construction of them, I don't think that the spindles are quite as strong, and you will wind up bending a spindle, whether that just be from your bike falling or if you're grinding, and then it gets lopsided and you can really feel it when you're pedaling, and it's pretty annoying. So yeah, plastic pedals definitely serve a purpose, and there's a lot of setups where I actually prefer a plastic pedal with the plastic body and plastic pins, but you aren't going to have as affirmative kind of placement and feel as hooked in as you are with metal pins or some of these other pedals. So these are kind of a generic, this would come on a lot of bikes, but this, I brought this out to really highlight the difference in kind of the spindle height versus the body. So the closer that your foot is to the spindle and the point of leverage that can tip, kind of the more sound, I guess, that your foot is sitting in there. It's almost like it's cradled in because you're pressing right against the force that's taking your weight. Whereas if you're suspended up above your spindle, sometimes you can feel a little top heavy, I guess you could say, as your foot, you can kind of feel that it's able to kind of teeter in and over the top of the spindle because you're standing above the point of leverage and you're not standing into it. So a thinner profile body is pretty much what a lot of these pedals are all going towards. So this is another really good example, and we'll talk about this one next. This is a super cheap price point. These are actually a knockoff that are just on Amazon for literally like $23, I think is what I purchased these for. And these go on my son's race bike, but the pedal pins are actually even more aggressive than I would say that these are here on these large Yoshimura ones. Now understand, I've kind of grinded these down a little bit, not on purpose with a tool or anything like that, just through riding. But these are really aggressive, and another part of that, you know, kind of goes into what you're wearing for a shoe. But a pedal like this is going to give quite a bit of traction, even with a plastic body. These composite frames are so stiff that you're not really going to feel any sort of flex or anything like that, and they're really just a good placeholder for the pins. So this is a pretty good option. And then another example of kind of a mid-grade happy medium, these are Odyssey Grandstand pedals in alloy. These are still a lot cheaper than something like the Yoshimuras, but I had these for a long time, and there's a weak point here. I actually did wind up breaking this, but that was like a fluke thing, hit the edge of something and wound up breaking. But just to show that it's drilled for the pin, and that's the reason that it broke right there. But these are pretty good. You can exchange the pins on these, and it's nice to be able to have a little control of that. I know, especially your corners, you would want pretty good pins, but like on these, you've got 8 pins per side. The Yoshimura, you're at 10, but this does a good job of allowing you to still scoop it. Still a lot thicker than the Yoshimura, but at the time these were a fairly thin pedal when they first came out. I believe these are the Tom Dugan ones, and there is some slop that's crept into that spindle, but these pedals are still good. If it wasn't for this snap here, I wouldn't have any worries about running these at all. So the aluminum body on these is really good. It's, you know, they take material out where they're able to, but they're not placing gaps outside of, you know, the two here. Whereas, like I'm demonstrating on this one, that might create a weak point between pins. So it does save a lot of weight, but I feel like this is probably your better compromise. Plus you have more pins and ability to change the pins, pull some out. If you felt like this was a little too much traction, you could remove. I would definitely keep your corner pins in place, and probably, you know, something like this, but you could remove a few of these pins to be able to kind of control how much grip you have. That would be one of my only complaints with the style of riding that I do, is jumping, and if your foot doesn't land on the pedal just right. On most of these other pedals, you're able to kind of shimmy your foot and get it to where you need, kind of in the flat bottom between obstacles or whatever if you're riding trails. But for this, it's kind of, hey, you land and you kind of get what you get, because you're going to need a little bit of time to kind of pick your foot up and move it. You can't just push through these pins. And that's probably depending on your shoe as well. I almost exclusively just run Vans shoes with the BMX waffle soles, and it's perfect for what you want. You're not going anywhere. You're not going to be slipping pedals. If you land, you know, because you're doing no foot tricks and you blow something off, you can come up and you can slip pedals. But just trying to, you know, pedal up to jumps or out of corners and stuff, you're not slipping pedals with that combination, which was kind of the reason that I went with this. I wanted something that I could crank as hard as I could and I wouldn't feel like my feet were going to blow off, and there's definitely a very positive connection with these. So I understand the type of riding that I do might not be the type of riding that everybody that would be considering these pedals does, but it definitely can withstand up to what I'm able to do with them, and I really like them. I would say if you're a mountain bike guy that is looking for a good set of flat pedals that you feel like you're pretty connected into, but you don't necessarily want to be trapped in clip-in pedals, these are going to be really good. These with a pair of Vans or 510s or something with a good sole for riding and a shoe, you're going to feel like you're in control. It's going to feel good. If you're a pump track guy, these are awesome. If you're just kind of a casual rider that you like to have nice things, I think these are probably some of the best pedals that you're going to be able to get. The body does kind of protect itself a little bit here, and like I said, I've had these for about 1.5 years and I've been riding them pretty hard. Every once in a while I will do like some pedal grinds like on coping or whatever, just with the body, but those are pretty low frequency and not too much pressure. If I was pressing into like concrete, that would not be a go. I wouldn't do that in wood, but just skirting along the coping on a quarter pipe, they slide just fine for that. These ones are probably nicked in the hardest here on the edge, but it doesn't affect any of the bearings, anything like that. And the other reason that I liked these is they are made in America. Yoshimura has been making motorcycle stuff since the 50s, I believe, and just kind of started dabbling into BMX and bike stuff. They are big supporters of USA BMX, and they'll often host Flat Pedal Friday and some different things to show that they have support for the industry and for the sport. So I feel like that's something good to reward. They also do sponsor some BMX riders. Overall, just do a good job with marketing, and I think it's important to support those people that are putting money back into the sport and helping grow the scene. One quick thing with installation, typically the way that pedals are set up, you're set up for a small open face wrench that will help tap into the side here on the spindle, and you thread that right into the crank arm. Almost all of them are always going to also have a Allen key on the inside. The Yoshimura pedal only has the Allen key. So this is an 8mm here, so just double check that your cranks do have a hole all the way through so that they're sleeved so the spindle can go in. That's almost always going to be the case. I've only ever had one pair of cranks that weren't like that, but do make sure that that's going on. The other thing with that is I think it pushes that body right next to the spindle and gives you a couple extra millimeters. So you've got a nice big body and it starts right away. So even your overall length sticking out might not be as far as some of these other ones, even though the bomb body actually, or the pedal body actually measures wider than these. So I've spent a lot of years riding bikes and a lot of years running different parts, and if you want to hear my thoughts on stuff like that, I can make more videos like that, just let me know. But at the end of the day, I would say these are a good product, a good purchase. They are expensive. You're looking at about $229 a pop right now, I believe, on their website. But it's kind of one of those decisions. If it's something that you want, these do have a big way, they do have a big impact in the way that the bike feels. It's one of the few parts on the bike that you actually interface with is your pedals and your grips. So making sure you're comfortable and feeling good on those places is going to make the whole bike feel nice. So thanks for watching. Bye.